The bell signaling the end of the day rings through the classroom, and my shoulders droop with a sigh of relief. It's been a long week, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to heading home and chilling out over the weekend, watching a few movies, maybe popping some popcorn, doing some online shopping. Oh, who am I kidding? What I'm really hoping for is some action. It's been almost 2 weeks since our last run in with one of the rival gangs who pollute our city, and the quiet is unsettling. I can't help but wonder what they're up to and when they'll strike next. Shaking my head to clear the thought, I meet my best friend Sarah in the hall where she greets me with a bright smile. Ready for the weekend? I give her a dry look, resisting the urge to say something snarky in return. Something in her smile turns wicked, like she's up to no good. Lay it on me. What have you found out? I ask. The Takapo gang is planning a bonfire in Stratton Park next weekend down by the river. Lacey caught wind of it on Facebook, so Nikki and I were thinking, gross, no way am I crashing a Takapo party. Let me finish, Sarah says in a low whisper, ignoring the students who look at us as they walk by. Nikki and I were thinking, what better way to celebrate the new term than by calling in their bonfire to the authorities. I fix my best friend with a pointed stare, my lips pursed in thoughts as I weigh up the options. On one hand, there's nothing I'd love better than to stir some trouble with the couple gang, but on the other, calling the police on a rival gang is a pretty low move. You know, it should really be you who makes the call. Don't you agree, Angel? I give Sarah a withering glare, knowing she finds the nickname the students of Clanner Academy have given me as their leader just as absurd as I do. Surely we can think of something better than calling the cops. We want them to recognize our authority in this city by our own means. Calling the police on them doesn't exactly scream menacing, you know? Sarah shrugs, and I know she thinks otherwise. Remember when the couple called in that anonymous group tip on Rex, saying he was running an illegal drug ring in his basement? If they can play dirty, then why can't we? I snort at the memory. Rex was the previous leader of the academy before me, and the police had torn his house apart on that particular occasion, only to come up empty. With a sigh, I have to admit that she has a point. So, what do you say? She urges me on. We call the cops on them? Will you stop bothering me if I agree? Sarah winks, and I know there's not a chance in hell she'd ever give up her habit of dragging me into all sorts of trouble anytime soon. For now, she says, linking her arm through mine, but you have to admit it'll be worth it to see the phantom in cuffs. She gives me a small nudge in the side, and I resist the urge to hiss at her. I've never even met the guy, I answer, knowing she's speaking about the leader of Takapo's gang, so not having any idea what he even looks like. You will soon enough. Sarah and I head down the hallway together, students surrounding us on either side as everyone hurries to leave and head home for the afternoon. It's only when our phones go off simultaneously that we both stop to check the message. Pulling my phone from my pocket, I swipe the screen to unlock it and scan the words that appear. It's Nikki, Sarah says with a gasp. Riversiders are here. We'd better hurry, I say quickly. I tuck my phone in my pocket once again and grab Sarah by the arm. The two of us race through the corridors, students sleeping out of our way as we do so, until we step outside and onto the main quad. When we find Nicky, he has a group of 10 or so others with him, the lot of them standing guard at the front gates. The group hardly looks menacing in their designer jackets and squeaky clean white sneakers, but I have the privilege of knowing that when it comes to my gang, looks aren't everything. What's happening out here? I ask Nicky as we approach, and he gives a grim smile, waving a hand to nowhere in particular. A bunch of Riversiders have been hanging out down the street since around the fourth period. We think they're after the bell, but we can't be sure. I curse softly under my breath, letting my green eyes slide to the brass bell that hangs high on top of the school building. When the academy was first constructed hundreds of years ago, the bell was used to signal the beginning and end of the school day. Now it sits preserved and unused, a beloved symbol of our school's long history. Without a doubt, if the Riversiders have taken the time to cross the river and venture into the city, that only means one thing: they're looking for trouble. What do you want to do about it, Hazel? Sarah asks, looking at me expectantly. Suddenly, the stares of a dozen others are on me. Talk about pressure. I take in a breath, my blood rushing with adrenaline as I smother my grin. If you had told me this time last year that I would be the leader of Clanner Academy's gang, the one that makes the hard decisions and incites everyone else to follow them, I would have said the very idea was ludicrous. What's even harder to believe is how much I like it. The confrontations, the wars, constantly trying to one up our rivals. I got a taste of power and found out I liked it. We'll keep a lookout for now. Riverside is hardly worth our time, but we can't just let them waltz in here and do whatever they please. I narrow my eyes. If they dare to come any closer, even a single step, then they'll have their assess handed to them. Sarah nods in agreement with the decision. You should go home, Angel, Nikki says, throwing a thumb in the direction of the gate. Me and the rest of the grunts will take care of it. My lips pull into a tight line, and I try not to wince at the nickname. Angel is what they know me as, all through the city and the schools that inhabit it. If only I had had the option of choosing my own. Most people are surprised when they discover the real me, looking like I should be a pretty mannequin on display in a boutique window rather than the leader of my very own gang. Though they're quick to hide it, I'll stay. Nothing would give me more pleasure than getting the chance to make an example of those who dare to trespass on our turf. I take up a spot leaning against the gates that are the only entrance and exit to our school, watching the remaining students file under the archway and disappear down the street. Ah, it's Angel, one of the students shriek as they spot me. They scurry off as if they'd seen a ghost. They all address me as they pass by, every single one of them. Some seem happy to see me, others look downright terrified. Once upon a time, I was invisible in the school, and now I barely get a moment to myself. I never expected I'd like it so much. Yeah, go kick the couple's ass, yells another student, fist pumping the air. That's not on the menu today, I say coolly. No, today it's Riverside High that's causing trouble. Usually it's the couple high that's a pain in the ass to deal with, but they're not the only ones we have a long-standing feud with. They're on the menu every other day, Nikki snickers. No worries, we got this, joins Sarah, confident we'll be able to pull it off today. After all, we have Angel as our leader. I smirk proudly, amused when I think back on exactly how everything had happened. With the last gang leader, Rex, having graduated the year after, the school needed someone new to guide them, someone who could protect our turf and the people associated with it. I take kickboxing classes 2 days a week after school. My mother had insisted on them when I was younger as a form of self-defense, and I picked it up right away. Not only did I love it, but I was good at it, like really good. So once the rumors began to float around about my skills, the school soon had their new leader, and I had about half a ton of responsibility added to my shoulders. I was hesitant at first. I wasn't sure I could pull it off, but I soon discovered that not only could I stand my ground as the head of the game, but I'd managed to build up a reputation nasty enough to keep our rivals on their toes. There they are, Nicky says as he leans against the gate next to me. He points out a group of both guys and girls hanging out further down the street, smoking and cheering in our direction as they inch closer. The big one at the front is Ivan Novak, leader of the Riverside gang. They call him the Hammer. I wonder why. I mumble to myself sarcastically, my gaze traveling over a pair of arms as big as tree trunks. You know, if you want to head over and end this right now, I've got your back. I give Nicky a smile, and I'm sure he can already see that I'm raring to go. Pushing myself off the gate with a smirk, I motion for the group to form around me. I start laying down the plan and how we're going to have the Riversiders running back to their part of the city with their tails between their legs. Alright, let's do this, I say confidently. The evening sky darkens overhead, angry, gray clouds looming with the threat of rain. I hurry down the street, my backpack bobbing against my back and my path illuminated only by the street lamps that cast their protective glow around me. I'd spent too long going at it with the Riversiders, acquiring an assortment of cuts and bruises before we chased them off for good. It was rough, but it was so worth it. I run a finger over the bruise on my cheek and huff a laugh at the memory of the girl who had elbowed me in the face. She'd got it back tenfold in the end. By the time a lot of them had finally run off, she was sporting a split lip and what I'm pretty sure was a broken nose. Serves the Riversiders right for trespassing on territory they have no right to. A light rain starts to fall, and I curse under my breath, coming back to reality and picking up the pace. I know the route home well. It's only 10 more minutes to walk if I'm quick about it. However, at this rate, I'm likely to get drenched before I get there anyway. It only takes a few more paces before I stop abruptly, a series of voices catching my ear. No, not just voices, shouts. Dread slithers down my spine as the sound of footsteps grows louder. I look around, but I've got nowhere to hide, and it's too late. Someone comes skidding around the corner. I yelp in surprise and jump out of the way, avoiding a near collision between us. My hand flies to my chest and steady my beating heart. That was close. Are you okay? I ask. The boy who had almost knocked me over bends with his hands on his knees, breathing hard while watching me curiously. What were you just standing around there for? He demands to know. Excuse me? I say incredulously. You were the one that ran into me. I look him up and down as he straightens, towering over me with an air about him that's nothing short of arrogant. Don't you know it's dangerous to loiter around corners? He says with a condescending grin. Someone could get seriously hurt, he finishes. I cross my arms over my chest, huffing. You seem to be perfectly intact. I feel the need to point out. Is that so? Do you want to check me just to be sure? He tilts his head to the side with a suggestive smile. It's not often that I'm at a loss for words, but I'm still so surprised that all I can do is dumbly stare at the boy in front of me. Until the shouts come again, closer this time, both our heads twist towards the source of the noise. I'd love to hang around and chat, but I'm a bit tied up, if you see what I mean, the boy says quickly, looking up and down the street as if deciding which direction to go. I poke my head around the corner to get a closer look at what he's running for, discovering the cause of all the mayhem. Riversiders. I thought I was done with them for today. If they catch me out here on my own, I'm done for it. The boy in front of me seems to be one to be on just an uneasy terms with them as I am. So without a second thought, I make the decision to help him. Come with me. Grabbing his hand, I pull him after me and we bolted in the opposite direction and away from danger. Water splashes around my ankles, soaking my shoes as my feet pound the pavement, certain of their direction. A destination. It doesn't take long until we're skating to a stop in front of a playground with darkened alley off to one side, breathing hard. I reach for the gate and the cold metal biting my finger. I'm not all that surprised to find it locked. I reach back and hastily pull a bobby pin from my hair, letting the red strands that were pulled back on one side fall free. What are you? Dropping to my knees, I stick the end of the pin in the keyhole, turning it a few times left to right, up spin down before the lock opens with a click. How did you practice? Is all I say as I silence him with my fingers around his wrist, pulling him along with me and meeting little resistance as he follows. Quick, get inside. Alright, alright. I'm impressed, is all. I'm still breathless when I pull him in behind me, closing the gates as quietly as I can and wincing at a sound of metal screaming as I set it back in place. With a heavy exhale of breath, I lean back against the brick wall, eyes closed while a mix of rainwater and sweat runs down my face. It takes a moment to remember that I'm not alone. No, I have this strange boy nearly pressed up against me. There's a little space to move down this alley, and I'm all too aware of the heat his body is radiating so close to mine. Now that there's less than 10 inches between us, I have a clear view of his flushed face. It seems he may have escaped trouble. You were in a fight, I state. It isn't a question, and he knows it. With the raise of one dark eyebrow, he answers, not by choice. The smug grin that curls his lips tells me everything I need to know. He's no stranger to a fist fight, and I hazard a guess that he's even good at it when not outnumbered. Looks like you've been in quite a scrap yourself, he indicates with his head to the bruise quickly developing on my cheek. Does it hurt? The tone of his voice is almost genuine. Our eyes met, and something in me wants to tell him everything that happened. The chattering of my teeth stops me, and I quickly look away. The alley is sheltered from rain, though I still hear the rain drops echoing on the canopy above us, and thanks to my wet clothes, a chill has started to set in. Here, take this, he speaks suddenly, shrugging off his jacket and holding it in front of me. It looks a lot less drenched than I am. I don't want. Just take it, will you? I don't want to be the cause of you catching your death. I say nothing as I take his jacket, shrugging off my backpack to pull it over my arms and zip up the front before returning my bag once more. It's a few sizes too big for me, but it's warm and it smells good. I stop shivering almost immediately. It suits you, he says, and I have to resist the urge to smile at him, even though I am grateful for the gesture. I let out an unimpressed breath instead, until a storm of thunderous footsteps catches both of our attention. Pressing myself back into the wall, I find I'm barely breathing as a group of 5 or 6 people run past the alley, totally unaware of our presence. There's fewer of them than there was outside the academy earlier, but that doesn't make them any less of a threat. It's only when the shouts and footsteps disappear in the distance that I release the breath I've been holding. I try not to look at the boy from me, though I feel his eyes on me all too well. It's probably best that we wait a few more minutes before leaving to make sure the coast is clear. 2 against 6 are not the kind of odds I'd like to take. Why did you help me? The boy's voice interrupts my thoughts. I snap my eyes onto him. He's watching me still, an odd expression twisting his features. I stroke nonchalantly. Riverside High are brutes. I'd never do anything to help them. You must go to Clanner Academy. Oh, you've got high society written all over you, he observes. I narrow my eyes, glaring at him. You're from Takapo High then. Anyone who's on the run from Riversiders, and I don't personally recognize them, they must go to Takapo High, our biggest rivals. The best there is. He smiles proudly. Says you, I argue. Takapo High seems to attract a lot of trash. His expression falters, suddenly looking around it. There are 3 schools in our city of Clanner, 3 schools that are constantly at odds with each other, trying to simultaneously outdo and sabotage the others. Riverside High, a rough and shady school on the other side of the river that divides our city. Takapo High, the biggest of the 3, a public school with a high population and a reputation for trouble. And Clanner Academy, my school, the academy is an upper-class campus. We excel in studies, debates, and sports, though we know exactly how to handle ourselves when it comes down to the wire. The locations of our schools form a triangle of sorts, and everything is in between is hot property. The schools fight over everything: parks, basketball courts, burger joints, anywhere we can stake a claim and mark as our own. And this boy in front of me, we're technically rivals, students from other schools that don't exactly mingle with each other. Hey now, there's no need to be so hurtful. We may be in different schools, but that doesn't mean we have to resort to being rude to each other. I suppose he's right. He hasn't done anything for me, to be so on guard around him. He gave me his jacket as well as a sign of good faith. You're right, I begrudgingly admit. He straightens his back with a smile, then he still for a moment, as though silently weighing something in his mind. The name's great, Jansen. You might have heard of me. My blood runs cold. His name echoes in my mind. Gray Jansen. That's the name of the leader of the Couple High gang. And here I am, helping him get away from a bunch of Riversiders and accepting his jacket. I just colluded with our biggest enemy. Suddenly, I feel sick to my stomach. I push the gate aside, stumbling onto the street with Gray riding behind me. Is everything okay? He asks, slightly confused at my reaction. I'm fine. I have to go. Now that I've left the shelter of the alley, the rain trickles over me once again. I shiver when it runs under the collar of the jacket and down my spine. Is my name that scary? I promise anything you may have heard about me are all just ludicrous fairy tales. He starts to explain himself. Uh-huh, I say dismissively, looking around the place to get away from him. There's no way those are just fairy tales. Once I heard that he infiltrated the Riversiders cafeteria and slipped laxatives into Monday's meatloaf. I heard that the old factory had burned down across town was because him and his gang had nuked it. There are other stories too. darker ones that make me wonder if that bright-eyed boy behind me is even capable of such things. I'm sure he's heard stories about me, too, or Angel, more likely. Thankfully, he doesn't seem to recognize me. Will you at least tell me your name? There's no way I can let him know who I am. We are each other's biggest enemies. A cruel thought runs through my mind. I could finish what the Riversider started me and take him down right here, right now. The gang would certainly be ecstatic with that outcome, but with my limbs currently frozen to the bone, I'd be surprised if I could land a half-decent punch. The fight from earlier today also took a lot of energy out of me, so I stayed silent. Never mind then, I'm sure I can find it in the online yearbook Clanner Academy posts on their website, he says with a wicked grin, and my heart stutters in my chest nervously. It's a useful tool, good for figuring out who I'm up against. I click my tongue at him, trying to downplay the fact that I really don't want him to find out my name. Good luck with that, I say dismissively, turning to leave. Gray's footsteps splash in the puddles behind me, and my teeth grit together hard. I can't be seen with him, of all people. If any of the gang members saw me right now, I'd never live it down. Riverside High is a pain in the ass, but because they're across the river, they don't pose much of a threat. Takapo High has always been our biggest threat due to being closer to us. Just last month, they stole our school's coat of arms from above the entrance to the main hall, and when we finally found it, it was half buried in the river, covered in mud and all kinds of icky things. What are you doing in this part of the town anyway? I suddenly asked him. This is our turf, after all. He shouldn't even be anywhere near here, especially all on his own as the leader of Takapo High. If anyone from the academy sees you, you've seen me, and so far I'm still alive. He cuts me off. I stop abruptly, spinning on my heel to face him. Digging in my pocket, I pull out my phone, holding it up in front of me in what I hope is a menacing fashion. One text from me, and that all changes. He huffs a laugh, as though amused by my sudden hostility. Who are you gonna call? Your personal shopper? I swipe the screen and unlock it and scroll through my recent contacts, my finger hovering over Nikki's name. I'm just about to hit the button to dial him when the phone is suddenly and rather rudely snatched from my hands. Oh, who's Nikki? Is that your boyfriend? That is none of your business. Please give me back my phone. Gray holds it in front of him, and I reach for it, but he pulls it back just before I can take it. I huff at him in annoyance though all that manages to do is widen his grin. I'll make you a deal. I'll return this to you on the condition you let me put my number in it first. Crossing my arms over my chest, I let my foot tap against the wet pavement. My patience wears thin. I don't make deals with the devil. His face drops in an instant, but his puppy dog But his puppy dog eyes don't fool me, and when he hands me the phone over, I give him a triumphant smile. It takes only a few it takes only a second more before that easy grin slides back onto his face. When can I see you again? With a last puff of air, I roll my eyes, ignoring his low, throaty chuckle. There's no denying that he's attractive, but that means absolutely nothing to me. How about never? I reply. I ignore his question, blinking through the rain as I turn and make my way home once again. Well, it's nice meeting you. Girl from Clanner Academy calls after me. This time, he doesn't follow me. Good riddance. I can't believe I ran into the leader of our rivals. I'm so lucky know that he doesn't know what Angel looks like.